Now, today in the shop, we're going to work on some of the Buell parts. The seat, for one, needs to have the trim repainted. There was a flaw in the paint. Vlad wanted the yellow paint repainted. We got to do that today, and it was an exceptionally beautiful day for doing some paint work. So we decided to put the clear on, and I think by the end of this day, I was really satisfied that the day got used very well. We got another one of the bikes prepared for the summer riding season, got it all cleaned up and polished, and we are ready as we come up on the riding season. Today we're going to work on more Buell parts. I want to do the seat. I have to do some yellow trim on that and maybe get the clear on. While that's drying, I can get one of the other bikes ready for our upcoming full riding season. Boy, this dried up so nice. Holy mackerel. We're moving a Buell project right along. Now, it's only because we don't have the parts for the BMW that we're waiting for Vlad to get them. I don't know what the holdup is. We could finish the BMW for him. He's taken everything except the parts he still hasn't brought. And we're going to try to get some more of the Buell parts done today. Maybe get that seat done. It's a great day for painting. So first things first, of course, feeding the fish. Job 1 in the morning. Feeding the birds. Job 2. Feeding me. Job 3. And Karen's already got some stuff cooking as we're working out in the yard and getting everything ready for springtime. She's got some stuff on the stove. So while I'm doing this work, the house is going to smell not like paint, but like kibasi. Oh, how much better than this does it get? And we're hoping we're going to get that part painted today. So I talk to Vlad almost every day about the progress on these 3, and now it looks like there might be 4 restorations going on here with this MV Augusta. But they'll look like the silver was a pretty good match. I'm not sure how fussy you have to be, but it looked okay for me. If it was my bike, I would go for it. The Buell, these parts have been curing out, and where that sticker is, that's the big thing. And I don't know if we're going to put more clear on them or not. And where that horse is on the fairing, that's another thing. But this is a big, thick decal on the seat area. And there's a flaw in that yellow paint. There's a scratch that Vlad doesn't want to have. And so he brought over some yellow paint. And I already have the thinner for the paint. So we're going to try to get that repainted today as job 1. Get the yellow and yellow sprayed on. And while it's drying, and this is mid-temp, while it's drying, I can do some cleanup on another one of the bikes and get the bikes ready for the riding season. Now, one of the things I wanted to be real fussy about is wiping this down with the M600 every time I touch it. And your hands always have some kind of oil, silicone, something, or just a general work debris from the shop. I don't know. But keeping it clean every step of the way before I even put the back masking on this. Now the back masking, I got brand new, when Vlad and I went to Chard, we bought brand new tape just for this reason. I wanted this edge to be perfect. And when you're going over somebody else's work, this is brand new tape right out of the package. And this is where you have to really get fussy. To go over somebody else's work like this, if you're off by the thickness of a hair, you're going to see it in the edge. So I really spent my time here, had a little bit of extra coffee before I did this, so I'd really get this right on the money. And that vinyl tape, the 3M vinyl, makes a really nice edge. Then I need to back mask it, ordinary masking tape, and tin foil. We use that tin foil method so many times already. I've used it even on the FCR restoration. We used boxes of it. But the late Walt Prey shared that technology with us when we were all building model planes together and sharing model plane building information. And that worked well on the model planes. It worked well on several other jobs I did, painting guitars and things. And it works well on motorcycles. And it's so much better, especially when you have light colored things like this yellow. And this if I didn't do this, and if that paint doesn't match exactly right, I'm going to be really disappointed, because this job has again taken on, like all 3 of the restorations, it's taken on a life of its own. Here I'm tack ragging it down.
I want that to be absolutely perfect, not have a fisheye or something right in the middle of it. And it's part of it is just being careful every step of the way. And the yellow is a 50-50 mix with the thinner. I want it to set the gun to spray dry. I want to put on several very thin light coats. I don't want to put it on so dry that I don't get any adhesion, but I want to be very, very careful. To go over a part that already has somebody else's finish on it. I don't want any of the high penetrating thinner to go down there and loosen up the paint or make a problem for me. Now, I left this in only fast forward by 2 so that you could see how many times I went over it. Lightly, go over it. Lightly, go over it. You get a nice paint laying down nice and smooth, but you don't have any chance you're going to get a run or get a really rough tape edge. This minimizes the chance you're going to get a sloppy edge on the tape. And I really took my time backmasking this. I didn't want to take any chance at all because this is one of the parts, obviously, on a bike like this, the parts you see, these carbon fiber parts, and the paint where it butts up against the carbon fiber, and it's just a lot of work to get this to be real nice. Finally, we got it all resprayed. That's really perfect. Now I want to look and make sure it's going to set aside to dry, and I'm going to give it at least an hour to dry so I get a nice crisp paint edge when I pull that apart. And while that's happening, I'll work on the bikes. Now I've been riding the Black Ninja all winter and it's served me well. It's an easy bike to clean the salt off and keep the wheels clean, but I do like to keep it as clean as possible, and there's going to be some meetups coming up soon. And we're going to start the real riding season and make some videos of the rides, and hopefully the roads will be nice and clean soon. But this is one of the bikes that has served me so well. Coming up on 36,000, it's due for an oil and filter. It's due for rear tire and maybe a chain coming up soon. Now, a good tip, and one I try to use as often as possible, anytime I'm taking tape off, especially if it's new, fresh paint that isn't fully cured, I like to kit it warm to the touch with a hairdryer and not take any chance that we're going to wind up pulling up some paint here. The edges on this are still very delicate, and the heat never hurts anything. It's never makes it worse, but because that part was outside drying up, I didn't know it was a little colder than ambient temperature, and even if it wasn't, it's always a good idea to use the hairdryer anytime you're going to pull up tape, and pull it up slowly. Keep it nice and warm. That's such a good tip, and so many people don't know it, and they wind up in the middle of a paint job pulling up some fresh paint. Well, that all I can say is keep the hairdryer right by the masking tape, and that's a trick worth its weight in gold. And the clear that we're going to use, of course, and we've been using it on all 3 of the restorations, the Gavco 7754 Fast Hardener, 7701 Clear, but we have used in the past several other brands, including 5-Star, that have worked just fine. I keep the tip of the spray gun, it's a Harbor Freight spray gun, I keep it in a jar of acetone, and when I mix the paint, I try at this point in time not to have the phone ring or have any interruptions. I try to concentrate because it's very easy, especially if you're mixing more. This is a small batch, 4-to-1, but if you're mixing a multiple batch and you're trying to do it all in one shot, boy, can it get confusing. But anyway, and I have made mistakes in the past, and when you do, you really feel dumb, but I'm just sharing that with you. Just try not to be distracted while you're doing your 4-to-1 mix. And of course, anytime you're spraying anything 4-to-1, anything with catalyst, it's a good idea to use a really good mask. The one they sell in Harbor Freight is the one I use, and it has kept me alive for many, many years. Some good tips that I've passed on many times, and things, because I use all Harbor Freight spray equipment, very inexpensive. These guns are under $20, and they do tend to drip at the top when they get a little bit old, and we have so many of them in the shop. some drip and some don't. Putting tape on there, very cheap insurance that you're not going to drip it on your shoes or on the table or whatever. Now, the technique, and I've said it many times, this isn't fast forward. I spray out into midair and then spray the part. And when I'm done spraying, I put the gun back out in midair before I release the trigger, so I don't wind up getting the nib or the nub or whatever you want to call it that would normally come when guns, here, what I did here, I richened up the mixture just a little bit, and I wanted to get a real nice flow material on this. And boy, the weather was cooperating better than I could have ever expected. It really was good. That laid down just great. And so when I have a day like today where the paint looks like it's laying down, we're probably in the mid-60s here, and getting this part, now we're at a watershed here, because from this point on, the only thing left to do on a Buell project is going to be to buff out the parts. But they have to sit. They have to sit in the garage. They'll sit there overnight, number one. And in a perfect world, then I can bring it into the house, put it up by a heating vent while the heat is still on, and 2 or 3 days from now, that part, all the parts, will be ready to buff.
So in the course of this day, we got one more part for the Buell project well on the way. Now this has to dry, of course, overnight in the garage, down by the heating vent. And the heat is still on, believe it or not, even though it's getting warm in the middle of the day. But the part looks like it's going to be just beautiful when it's done. These stickers, they really stick up, and I haven't gone through yet, so I don't know. I was hoping those stickers would just disappear, but they didn't. Anyway, this was a really productive day, and we hope you've got some useful information out of it for any projects you'll be working on now.
So we made some progress with the Augusta. It looks like that's going to be part of the future now. That silver paint looks pretty good to me. The spraying of the last of the Buell clear, we're days away from having this project done now, except for all the buffing. And the buffing, because there's fairings involved and that big tank piece, it's going to be extensive. But I'm celebrating, and Karen's cooking. So what were you cooking today while I was working?
This is Rob. This is kielbasa and potatoes and spinach.
Kielbasa, oh my God.
He loves kielbasa.
Yeah, I love it too. So the day did play out well, and we are getting ready very soon for the riding season. The BMW project is moving right along, and I don't know when the parts are going to be coming in. There may be a gap until those parts come from wherever they're coming from. In the next week, we'll get all the buffing done and get these Buell parts back to Vlad. He can put the Buell back together. Maybe we'll get some pictures of that in one piece. But we are in the time of year when it's just wonderful outside. The weather's perfect for painting. We're coming up on where the riding is not brutal, where you have to be all bundled up like you're going to Alaska. And we have ridden through a very cold winter, not missed a lot of days, and at 650 has been a good friend. But again, you never know about the weather this time of year. It might snow. You never know. But we try to include a lot of things on our little videos: the rides, the working on the bikes, the painting, the memories of the great times we've had with our friends, and some of the tributes to friends that are not with us anymore. Old men, old bikes, and young hearts. And we really try to make it that it's fun to watch, it's interesting, informative, enjoyable. I don't know what else it could be, but it seems like an awful lot of people enjoy it. I enjoy doing the editing. I, of course, enjoy doing the restorations on the bike and the paintwork, and I hope you enjoy it as much as I enjoy making it. And I hope we'll see you tomorrow.